the AI. It's really amazing that we've gotten to this point, and really excited to bring this to a close. For those of you joining us online, a reminder, of course, the task force members and technical advisors should be showing up as panelists in the Zoom. If you aren't, please get in touch with Scott or Dan, who can promote you. And as usual, this meeting is being recorded, and you can access recordings of prior meetings on the AI Task Force website via the Governor's Office of Policy Innovation in the Future. Okay, today's meeting is an opportunity for all of us to reflect on really the fine work of everyone here, the nearly complete 99.9%, hopefully complete draft of what you have in front of you. You all have been working so hard for the past several months to pull together this really beautiful and robust set of ideas and recommendations that are reflected in the document you have in front of you. And I know I speak for both Dave and I when I extend my profound thanks for all the time and energy and work that you've put into this. It truly has been a wonderful experience for me, I'll say personally, to learn from all of you, to get to know all of you, and really be able to bring forth something that is really so well thought out and so comprehensive. Before we get to the discussion portion, I wanted to spend a minute reflecting on how we got to this point. Again, incredible hard work over the last 10 months, but I wanted to remind you of the governor's charge as we enter into this last meeting. It's really to prepare Maine's economy and workforce for the opportunities and risks likely to result from advances in AI, to protect Maine residents from potentially harmful uses of AI technologies, and to explore the most promising uses for state agencies, quasi-state agencies, and other public entities, such as municipalities, to deploy AI technologies to address capacity gaps and improve service delivery to the populations they serve. This is the 11th and final meeting. I know 11 doesn't seem like it seems like it's more, but this is the 11th and final meeting of the AI Task Force. Across these meetings, you've heard testimony and stories from 28 individuals from across Maine and around the country on an extremely broad range of topics. And you've spent significant time digesting their insights to produce the recommendations that you have in front of you. We started back in January and February exploring the basics of AI and hearing how other states were attempting to address its implications. You all then identified the topics you thought would be most helpful to investigate, to respond to the governor's charges. And over the spring and early summer, we then dove into each of them: economic implications, workforce implications, education, health, and implications for governments, and finally, strategies for mitigating potential harms of AI. You all also told Dave and I that you wanted opportunities to dig deeper into these topics. And so 6 subgroups were created to consider what we were learning and shape potential recommendations. And across our 6 subgroups, you met an additional 19 times between May and August. We then reconvened this September and October to synthesize that work into the recommendations and report that we have in our hands today. And throughout this process, we benefited from really very robust public input. We received over 100 responses across 2 separate public comment periods, one in the spring and the second just a few weeks ago, to help ensure that the result of our work is responsive to the people of Maine. I wanted to just take a moment here to recognize how much effort and engagement you all put in over the dozens of hours and outside, in and outside of our meetings, and to allow you all to give yourselves a collective pat on the back, and I would say a collective round of applause, really, for everyone. Kudos to everyone who's done the hard work here. And I know that for each of you who have been engaging in all of the structured meetings, you've had dozens of conversations with colleagues outside of that to formulate your opinions. And we really appreciate the effort that you've put into this and what you've brought to this process. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into our last meeting, and I'm going to pass this over to Dave to help guide the conversation. Dave is on mute.
There we go. Are we unmuted now? Thank you, Mary. And I want to add my thanks to all the hard work and dedication that you've all shown over the past several months. It's been incredible. I also think we owe some deep appreciation to Scott and Dan. They have done outstanding work, and they have really been resourceful in supporting the task force. So thank you as well. As you're aware, the deadline for for this report is now just 1 week away. So we're going to spend a little bit of time during today's meeting talking about what the release might look like. But first, as Mary said, this is our last opportunity to make any substantive efforts to the text as it stands. Let me just emphasize that we're talking about substantive changes at this point. We're not wordsmithing necessarily. We're going to approach this conversation so that by the end of this meeting, we're able to reach a consensus on the recommendations. Now, consensus doesn't mean that every recommendation is exactly perfect for every individual, but it does mean that we can live with the package as a whole. Most of the people I have talked with feel really good about this report. Some have small changes they'd like to see, and that's kind of natural. But we need to respect the process, which has been extensive, and agree that this report reflects our collective views. With that standard in mind, we have a great opportunity here to work through any areas that may need final edits during the course of this meeting. So, Dan, I think if you put up a slide, we did put out a request, and I'm going to start with input that we received from the Department of Education, who let Mary and I know that they have given some thought to new language following public comments that we received earlier this month. So, if you will, I think Beth is with us, and I'm going to turn it over to Beth to carry us through that recommendation.
Great. Thanks so much, David. Again, I'm Beth Lambert. I'm the Chief Teaching and Learning Officer here at the Maine Department of Education. And we've been working with the chairs and the folks at GoPIF to think through a way to address the fact that while we got great public comment, a lot of that was geared towards concerns over the safety of and from parents and educators of the safety of students' mental health and AI in the classroom, and wanted to make sure that we were addressing that. We really think that we've done an excellent job across the 5 recommendations to highlight what AI can enable folks to do, particularly in the education section in Maine education around innovation and literacy and access and equity, all really important things. But what we heard in the comments and what we also think is missing is that we didn't necessarily address in that section what we must protect in that excitement around AI as we move forward. And what we heard was students' privacy, their mental health, and their cognitive development, which are very real concerns in the comments, but also I think in the state and nationwide. So the proposed addition that we're showing you gives the education section, we think, that necessary balance between both supporting the opportunities and what AI will enable in our schools around innovation and care. And so thank you. It's up in front of you all to be reading. I think as you look at it, our first 5 bullets really emphasize building capacity and opportunity in our schools. And this 6th one really ensures that we're also being equally attentive to safeguards and our students' well-being. I think it aligns. If you look at it, we hope with the broader reports, sort of public safety and ethics sections that we have around our connection to the mental health and cognitive well-being. It aligns with our approach in that this is not a mandate. It's about support and capacity building for our SAUs and our communities. It will help through this recommendation. Our plan is to help SAUs navigate community conversations with our guidance and other resources we can provide, and transparency around this issue. And we really think, in light of the public comments and the work, that there's strong that we heard the strong emotions around AI in schools, that adding this 6th bullet really will help us to keep that public confidence that Maine is proceeding with AI thoughtfully and not recklessly when we're talking about our students and their cognitive development and mental health. I think it's important to note that we are seen as a national leader in integrating technology responsibly, and we want to make sure that that continues to be grounded in our educational values. Um, and it answers directly what the public comments act asked us to do. We think it puts Maine in a position to really be forward thinking in this idea around cognitive and social impacts, which is something that is part of the national policy conversation right now in education. And we're proud that it really centers on community partnerships with our SAUs and their communities, parents, educators, students, all working together, um, rather than a recommendation that might come in this way that would be top down. So that's just sort of a brief overview of our thinking and the work that we've been doing. And I'll turn it back over to you, Dave.
Thank you. I'll ask if there are any comments, and again, go with the standard, can we live with this? Emphasize that this is responsive to public comment and not sort of a late entry necessarily that is coming forth from the subcommittee. Let me just ask generally, can everybody live with this and think this is appropriate for inclusion in the draft that we'll be releasing next week?
President Dagler, go ahead, Representative Sarah.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, President Dagler, and thank you, Ms. Lambert. I agree with everything that you said, and I agree with President Dagler's recommendation that we take this as a response to substantive public comment. I just wanted to add, I was not on the education subgroup, so anyone by a show who was, let me know if this is old news for you. It was new news for me this week. I'm at a workforce summit. The Southern Regional Educational Board, the accrediting body for the Southern states, has done extensive work in this area. They've issued 2 reports, guidance for the use of AI in the K-12 classroom and skills for an AI-ready workforce. And if those are not resources that have already been referenced by the subgroup, I would recommend them, not so much for the language of this report, but as a way to leverage existing good thinking on how to take action on what we've recommended in the report.
Okay. Others, Scott, you were about to chime in.
I was just making sure that Representative Sayer got his hand up, which he
Okay.
deserved.
All right.
Recognized.
Good work. So that's a note of support. Any others? Okay, I use the count to 6 rule here, so I'm gonna I'm gonna suggest that we're good for inclusion in the report, and that we all feel comfortable in that way. We do have another recommendation. I see this as more clarification and perfecting our language. But Lisa Letourneau from the Department of Health and Human Services is going to walk us through another suggested edit that we've been requested to make.
Great, thank you. So this was in review with Commissioner Gage Holmes, and just wanting to be careful about how we use the language about Maine care reimbursement. So it's in section D3. You can see here. Thank you for getting that on the screen, where it talks about changes may necessitate speeding up outdated adoption processes. And there was this reference to rethinking Maine care reimbursement. So rather than that statement, we thought it would be more appropriate to just group it with other insurance, so commercial insurance providers, and saying, and working with insurance providers and Maine Care to negotiate coverage. Just realize it's a small change, but just sensitive about potentially overpromising changes that we can make in Maine Care.
So very good. I think that's just a perfection of the language. Does anybody have any comment or any concern that they want to voice at this point around that particular edit? Okay, excellent.
Great, thank you.
Next up, received a recommendation actually from Senator Grochowski. And again, this is actually perfecting a term of art. And it may seem like a distinction without a difference, but when you're talking about a term of art, it matters. Um, and I think that we would propose, and Deanne, do you have if you've got it up, I think we're proposing using the term statutory statement of intent instead of statement of statutory intent. Strictly, if you ask me to distinguish between those two, I couldn't, other than one is a more perfected term of art. So, any particular issues or concerns there? I'm not hearing any. As usual, you're a wonderful group to work with. I'm going to invite you to our next faculty meeting. Next, Molly Curran-Rolls has suggested that we move a bullet. So we're not changing a recommendation. This is more about aligning sort of technical points. And we move bullet number 3 under which is currently under section 2, and it talks about data autonomy and privacy, and simply move that up to E1 because we believe that the data privacy issues meet the elements of the other issues included in recommendation number E1. So again, not changing the recommendation, just moving its placement. And Molly, I'd invite you to sort of share your thoughts around that.
Thanks so much, and I appreciate the hearing of my relatively late submission in the end. We are aware that 20 states have already established comprehensive data privacy reforms, including a number of states in New England. And given the way that E1 outlines specific action that's necessary where AI uses are apparent, responses are clear, and protections are lacking, we would argue that this is an issue that is very well understood across the country. Massachusetts is in the middle of establishing their comprehensive data privacy plan as well. But we really see this as a critical area. And just as a reminder, these are regulations that would ensure that people have the right to access and delete their own personal data, the right to opt out of any data farming, and also that all companies would need to disclose their privacy policies. It's particularly relevant, as is indicated in this bullet point, because data privacy data is such a big issue with regard to the building of AI frameworks in the first place.
Thank you. Any comments or concerns? I'm thinking everybody can live with that. Okay, excellent. Finally, this request again came from Senator Grochowski. She actually is chairing a different meeting, so she and I talked earlier this morning, and I'm carrying the water on this. This actually is not specifically a request to change, add, or delete any particular recommendation. It is a request to just have what I suspect will end up being by the drafters a call-out box or two within the report that points people to the availability of the website that we've all been keeping. Now, it also will require us to clean up and make sure that we've done a little bit of work on the website to make sure that it's comprehensive and complete. But I think it honors the spirit of transparency. And it also really, I appreciated actually the recommendation because it gives a tremendous amount of credibility. If you read through the words and you do go to the website, you then have the opportunity to hear see that we've heard from national experts. We've really pressed the issue deeply. And again, all we would be doing is within the body of the report, have a call out box or two and have that point to the website that already exists that's publicly available. So I think actually that's a direct benefit, but I want to make sure that everybody here is comfortable with that. Okay. Once again, you've been wonderful to work with. I think we are now at sort of that final point. It's now time to finalize these recommendations. So what we really have here, and I think the standard that we're looking for is consensus. We can all live with this package as a whole. With that shared understanding, I'd invite you to sort of speak out now. One last piece on any of the edits or anything else in the report. Otherwise, I'm going to say we're going forward, feeling as though we have done an awesome job at really collecting the wisdom and the thoughts and making recommendations that can help guide us, and while doing that, recognizing that this is a starting point and not an ending point, and a conversation that needs to go on. So. Anyone have any closing thoughts, or do we call this a wrap? Going once, going twice. I'm going to say everybody's had an opportunity to speak up. If you're good with it, we are good to go. Congratulations. And thank you once again for everything that you've done. So we're not done with the meeting here, but I think we can all say that we've really done our job and finished off a report, and we're on schedule to get it released on time. So thank you. And Mary, that gives me the pleasure of turning it back to you for the wrap up here.
Thank you so much, Dave. I think I'm supposed to say you may kiss the bride now, but I think maybe I should stick to the script. Okay. Thank you all for your collaboration and good work in reaching consensus on this report. It's really quite a milestone. The GoPIF staff will now incorporate all the remaining edits that we talked about today into the final report and continue to polish. They've been, I echo Dave's comments, absolutely fantastic and brilliant writers, really, really brilliant writers. So fantastic. That content will then be designed into a complete report that also includes some narrative elements, visuals, and quotes that further illustrate the findings of the group. You'll receive a digital copy of that fully designed report by the middle of next week, prior to its press release. And as you all are aware, we are due to deliver this report by October 31st. Sorry about that. We do anticipate releasing the report prior to that date through a press release that will be handled by the GoPIF staff. And that release will include a link to the final report, which will be posted on the GoPIF website. The final report will also be delivered directly to the governor and provided to members of the legislature upon their return to session. GoPIF will have hard copies printed and ensure that you all receive one as to memorialize your amazing work, and Dan will reach out to make sure that we have everyone's mailing address. And with that, I can wrap up and adjourn the session unless there are any other comments by GoPIF staff or anyone else. Okay, today, and I'm a little bit sad about this, I'll miss you all. Today marks the end of our work together. Dave and I are so grateful for having such an engaged and committed group. Really, it's really impressive how committed you've stayed through the whole process. You've given the state a great place to start. And as we've discussed, we all recognize this topic will be one in which much discussion will come from the future and dynamic changes. And your work here is not just an endpoint, but a foundation to really manage those changes as we see them coming through. Thanks for the great conversation today, everyone. We're set up extremely well to meet our deadline to deliver the report. And as we noted, keep an eye out for more information coming in around the release sometime next week. And Jay has a question.
Yeah, it's not a question. I just wanted to make sure. I'm very grateful to Scott and Dan because we've done a lot of talking and they've done a lot of work. And so I appreciate the work that came from both of those two.
Hear, hear. Absolutely amazing.
Let's make Dan come off. Let's make Dan turn on his camera. Excellent. Thanks for letting us embarrass you a little bit, Dan.
His face isn't red enough. We have to keep applauding. Okay, there we go. Now we're starting again. Okay, and with that, I have no more scripted comments, and I'm happy to say thank you to everyone, and I think we can adjourn.
Thank you all.
Excellent.
Thanks all.
Thank you all. Great job.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Fantastic.